Well, usually when we make a New Year's resolution, we have to start on January 1st, but that's just an arbitrary date. For a change to be effective, we have to be ready to change, and readiness is a process. I talked with Dr. Bradley Nelson about how we can make meaningful resolutions at any time.
One of the things that people do when they're setting goals is they set goals that are actually impossible to achieve. For example, people often will set a goal like, okay, I'm going to exercise every day this year, right?
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that it's not really possible. Something's going to happen. Something's going to get in the way. And when you set a goal like that, that is so impossible to achieve, if you fail one time, then you failed the whole goal. And what comes with that, of course, is these feelings of despondency and, oh my gosh, I'm no good. I can't do it. And then the whole thing goes out the window, right?
And like you said, if you're not ready to shift your habits, you're not going to succeed. So how can we make ourselves ready for change?
Well, I think one of the most important things is to be kind to ourselves. You need to be kind to yourself, and you also need to be realistic. And when you create goals for yourself, what I like is to create goals that are instead of saying, for example, I'm going to exercise every day, a goal like, okay, I'm going to exercise on average 3 times a week.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, that's way more achievable. It's way more comfortable, and it doesn't create so much unbelievable pressure on you, right?
Right. Gives you some leeway in that sense.
Yeah, it gives you some leeway. You've heard of the S.M.A.R.T, S.M.A.R.T, SMART goals. The S is specific. Goals should be specific. So they should be specific and narrow. For example, if you set a goal to make more money this year, well, that could be $1 or 10 cents.
Right.
So instead, you set a goal that's more specific. I'm gonna make an extra $10,000 or something this year. That's a lot more specific, and makes it easier to plan for. And then the connection to that is the M in the SMART goal. The M is that goals need to be measurable.
Okay.
So you need to be able to actually measure when you've achieved that goal. You should know it. Okay. The A is attainable. And we talked about that in the beginning. It needs to be something that is not impossible to do. It should stretch you. But one thing that people don't realize is that when you set goals, the idea is not so much that you get 100%, but if you can get to 80% of the goals that you've set, then you're doing well. You're stretching yourself, but you're not killing yourself. Okay.
Got it.
And then the R is relevant.
Relevant.
Yeah. So your goals should really line up with your values and with your long-term objectives, whatever those might be. And then the last one is they really need to have, they need to be time-based. They need to have a time frame.
Yes.
So, by a certain date, I'm going to do a certain thing. And then one of the other things about goals that a lot of people really miss is the accountability part. So if you set some goals for yourself, and they're only known to you, then the chances of achieving them are a lot less than if you actually go to a couple of your friends and you say, look, these are the things I'm going to try to achieve this year. I'd like you to help me to be accountable to this. And I'm going to have to report to you, by the end of the year if I've done these things or not. And that creates a little bit of pressure that can really help you.
I like that. I think I totally need the accountability. I mean, I picked a job like journalism because I knew I had a deadline in life. So that's good. There are a couple of things that you suggest. I'm going to go through them. You say reflect and evaluate, journal and visualize, ask questions, and clear trapped emotions. Can you talk to me about that, clearing trapped emotions? How does that hold us back from getting to what we need to be?
The book that I wrote, The Emotion Code, is all about how our emotional baggage gets in our way of really creating the lives that we want and achieving the dreams that we're dreaming and achieving the goals that we're setting for ourselves. We all have emotional baggage from the experiences that we've gone through. Those emotional energies that we've experienced, those intense emotions can stay with us, we know now, and they can interfere with us really being able to create the life that we want. So, for example, if you've experienced failure in the past, the energy of that failure can still be with you. And then when you're setting goals, it can make it harder to achieve them because you still are kind of hanging on to some of that failure from the past. But it's fascinating how large a role your emotional baggage can play in shutting you down and preventing you from really living the life you're capable of.
So many things to keep in mind there.